That is so awesome.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bucket List. This is Paul Collins, along with my wife Nancy, and we are gearing this program in such a way that if you are retired, nearing retirement, have a relative who's retired or nearing retirement, or if you haven't even thought about retirement, this is the day to pay attention. We're going to give you some very important information because if you live long enough, you may want to retire. And if you live long enough, you'll have a relative who is retired. A lot of issues out there for retired folks. By the way, I want to tell you right up front that I've been having a little bit of a problem today with the speed problem with the internet server, which means you may find this program being live a little sketchy in places, but don't dismay. It's being recorded and will be replayed on Facebook, YouTube, the Acts Media Group website, etc., so that you will get this valuable information.
And thing of it to butt in, all the time I've been watching Fox News and on the TV, they've had all kinds of problems. So it's just not this program or this station.
Well, we one is satellite.
Yeah.
This one is internet. So
Yes.
technology is not perfect
No.
by any means, but Acts Media Group will be looking into this problem and trying to solve it for the future. Now, Nancy, what we've done with the bucket list is we've tried to bring out those issues, situations, circumstances that people need. They have a tendency to put them at the bottom of their list, and they need to get them to the top of the list and start paying attention to them now.
Exactly.
Anyone who doesn't plan is planning to fail.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people who have planned to fail. Just the other day, it was brought to our attention that a man and woman, an older couple, the wife's brother was very ill, and he died a very difficult death, sorry to say. The sister and her husband really have basically nothing, and they're an older couple. And so they were faced even with the problem of how to pay for cremation of the relative's body. We see so much of this, Nancy and I do. We hear so much of it, whether it's an economic thing or whether it's a health issue. We had a phone call just this morning from an older lady. Her husband has had health issues, and she has called us any number of times about her husband's situation and to have us pray for him. And by the way, folks, Nancy and I happen to be followers of Jesus, which means we're Christian. Those of you watching who are not followers of Jesus, don't turn away, because the information I'm going to be giving you could come from a Muslim, could come from a Hindu, could come from an atheist, could come from a humanist, for that matter. I just happen to bring it to you as a Christian from a Christian worldview, and it's not necessarily what you might call the biblical worldview, because sometimes people want to beat you over the head with the Bible. We're not here to do that. We're here to give you some truth, give you the facts, and be honest enough up front to tell you, yes, we are followers of the Christ. Now, that's why this lady has called us several times to pray for her husband. I finally talked her into talking him into, and then she got him on the phone. I talked him into eventually seeing a doctor. When he saw the doctor, now this is a couple, they're comfortably retired. When he finally saw the doctor, he has prostate cancer and cancer of the liver. No wonder he didn't feel good. Sometimes we have older people who will put off going to the doctor for one reason or another. Because of experience, they think, and getting older, you have aches and pains, you have problems with this, problems with that. You just assume that it's a part of the aging process. And And there are some challenges. I've told people very honestly, growing old is not for sissies. You know, you got to be a real man or a real woman to grow old. But sometimes you make the mistake of thinking, well, this just is because I'm getting older. Well, he finally went to the doctor, and as I said, he has cancer of the prostate, cancer of the liver, and so now we are praying more specifically for him. Now, this morning she called, and they have family members coming to see them and to stay with them for a few days, and they also have family members who have physical problems and they're middle aged. Now, this couple I'm talking about are in their 80s, so they have children who are middle aged, who are standing on the edge of retirement. Now, I'm old enough. My oldest son is retired. He's 65. So what I'm getting at here is let's put this age thing to one side for just a little bit and talk about the bucket list, because there are things that we need to prepare for.
That's right.
And we need to plan to succeed and not plan to fail. In regard to this, Nancy, on this program in weeks past, we talked about the Internal Revenue Service, federal income tax, and especially personal federal income tax. Now, folks can get an extension. Today is the deadline because the administration in Washington had given an extension from April 15th to May 17th or something.
Yes.
Now, for filing. Now there's another extension. But today would be the deadline to file for an extension. If you haven't done it, do it. Now, you think, some people think that retired people don't pay taxes or don't file taxes. Think again. It depends on how much taxable income. And there are many retired people who have enough taxable income, they have to file income tax. I have not yet quite figured out how the IRS knows who has enough taxable income and who doesn't. But somehow they know, I guess. Well, I do know how they know. But anyway, if you're going to be honest about it, the IRS will know if you have taxable income. If you're going to be dishonest, that's a problem. Don't be dishonest. I've told people never lie to Uncle Sam or Aunt Iris. Aunt Iris is the IRS. So anyway, if you haven't filed, you have today to file for an extension. Now, we've probably covered personal income tax situation sufficiently for the next several months, but we can still talk a little bit, remind folks about Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you probably try to find every way possible to pay as little as possible into Social Security. That's not always wise, unless you have an alternative retirement plan that you know will work. It's going to be there when you need it.
Going to be there? What do you mean by going to be there?
Well, there are big companies that may say, well, we have a retirement plan for you. If that company goes broke and all their stock goes away and they disappear, your retirement funds disappear. You may belong to a union of some kind that where you have retirement. Well, that's not totally reliable either. In other words, nothing is certain except death and taxes. And but you can hedge a little bit with Social Security being one of your really, as long as we have a government, one of the more reliable sources concerning retirement funding. But that retirement will be dependent, the amount of that check will be dependent on how much you pay into Social Security. I made the mistake years ago of listening to non-professionals who were doing my taxes, and I didn't make any money to speak of. You know, back then, hardly anybody. I've never made any real significant money, but they always talked me into paying as little as possible into Social Security. Guess what? I draw as little as possible from Social Security. I would have been better advised to have paid all I could into Social Security.
So here's a neat idea. and I have to think about myself. I've always thought that if you were in some kind of business, that you would know all the answers, know all the ins, outs, and everything else. That's not necessarily true.
No, no. Now I'm going to get around to telling you in a little bit about where to get your best advice on all these matters, but suffice it to say right now for Social Security. Social Security is a reality. Yes, I know all the stories about when the Social Security fund will go broke. It's already broke. I know that. There is no lockbox with Social Security funds in it. Our federal government uses those funds to fund other things. The government's way over its head in debt and so forth. However, we're operating, that's a whole different scenario dealing with fiat money, et cetera. That's for another show. Right now, it's important to know, try to keep track of what you're paying into Social Security. Find out how your Social Security will be figured in the future when you need it, what your check will be, what it'll be based on, and use good business sense and have good advice from professionals and do it right. Now, this brings me around then to like part of Social Security that is Medicare. Lots and lots and lots of advertising on TV now, and a lot of phone calls coming to your phone probably of someone wanting to sell you. They say it's free, but it's not. They're wanting to sell you a program that means that it will supplement your Medicare so that you'll have zero out-of-pocket expenses, no co-pays. You'll get free dental, free vision, free this, free that, and money added back into your Social Security check. Don't believe it for a minute. What they're going to do, for instance, in our case, I pay $170 a month. Nancy pays $170 a month for Medicare, Part B of Social Security. Okay, that comes out of our Social Security check. If I bought this other company's program, it would cost me $170 a month, but I would stop having it taken out by the government out of my Social Security. Now, since there's a whole lot of companies out there wanting to sell me for $170 a month their program, what happens if they go belly up, or what happens if my healthcare provider doesn't honor their program? Then I have no additional Medicare coverage. And just plain Medicare Part A, all it does is give you a few days in the hospital, period. So you need to get acquainted with these programs. If you are not already involved in Social Security and Medicare, you will be if you live long enough. Now's the time to learn about them. Don't be like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind and say, oh, well, I'll worry about that tomorrow. I'll think about that tomorrow. You know, tomorrow never comes. Why? Because when tomorrow gets here, it's today. So today is the day. The scripture says, Nancy, behold, today is the day of salvation. The word salvation in the Greek is soteria, and it means deliverance. Today is the day of your deliverance from uncertainty and failure. Plan today. Now, when I say plan, I mean people should plan to prepare. Plan to prepare so that you can be prepared for retirement, for medical stuff, for Social Security, Medicare, the day when you don't have to pay income tax, whatever. Plan now. But two more examples. There was a man in his early 50s yesterday, single, no children, talked with me. By the way, folks, I'm sorry I'm having voice situations today, but I think it goes with the weather and allergies. We'll blame it on that. Anyway, in his 50s, not married, never been married, no children. Because his employer has a large life insurance policy on him, and his employer says that they will, he has that made out, the beneficiaries, all of his siblings, to share in it if something happens to him. and his employer will also add in 1 year's salary equivalent if something happens to him that his heirs would get. They are designated. Other than that, he has no property that he owns other than a vehicle. So he thought he had everything all planned. There was nothing left to do. I said, well, there is. When you die, somebody's going to be responsible for arrangements. Or what if you end up in the hospital and you're on life support and somebody has to make a decision as to when to remove the life support? What are you going to do? Who's going to make the decisions? Since you don't have a wife and you don't have children, you have to designate somebody as the responsible party. So he said, well, do I need a trust? I said, no, you don't have anything other than a vehicle and a little bit of furniture and some clothing to put in a trust. The cheapest trust that you can have drawn up now by a lawyer is about $2,000, and it goes up to like $3,000. So you don't need that. He said, what about a will? I said, well, if you have a will, whatever you have, it'll go to probate. Probate will take about 25% of that. You really don't need a will. And now, folks, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not giving political advice. I'm not giving anybody advice. I'm just telling you. I said to him, check out durable power of attorney, so that one of your siblings, or more than one of them, can make a decision if you end up on life support. And they can make decisions if you become disabled and can't make decisions on your own. They will know what to do with your belongings. They'll know what to do about final arrangements and so forth. That made sense to him. And I said, now, about your vehicle, title it so that it's entitled to you, and you can either do title on death to one of your family members, or you can simply have your family member on the title with you. And then every vehicle after this, do the same. So you're covered. Mainly, your loved ones are covered. You're taking care of them in the event you cannot function on your own. Now, a durable power of attorney, you can print those off of the internet. They have to be notarized. They have to have 2 witnesses. But it's all right there. It's not hard. You don't even need a lawyer to do a durable power of attorney. You can do it with, maybe at your local bank. They have notaries on their staff, so forth. Anyway, any of this that you want more information on, you want me to refer you to someone who can really give you the details, reliable details, reach out to me through actsmediagroup.com. Acts, remember, is spelled A-C-T-S, like the book of Acts in the Bible. Acts Media, M-E-D-I-A, Group, G-R-O-U-P, and I will correspond back with you. I will answer your questions. I will make referrals, do whatever I can to help you with your bucket list. So let everything at the bottom of the list come to the top. Let's deal with them. So that was one deal that I had yesterday. After that, I received a case. If you want things to get right, you must start now. He admitted on the phone, and I didn't ask for it, I wasn't digging for information, that he and his wife received from the government $1,400 each. That's $2,800 in stimulus money. And they're in their 70s. And he told me he has no idea where it went. Now think about that. Has no idea where it went. I know where ours went. Into savings. Do you know where yours went? Now, this brings me back, Nancy, to something that I've been trying to get across to folks, and hopefully some are getting it. That as a Christian, to hear something, you can, if you're a secularist, that's okay. You can say you had an idea, whatever. Best ideas I get are by inspiration. But I heard in my in my mind, in my spirit, that I would be taught how to save. That was first. I was open to that. Immediately, I was told I would be taught how to invest. I was open to that. Then I was told I would be taught how to spend. I was open to that. Then I was told I'd be taught how to get. I was open to that. So it was, first of all, it was save, then it was invest, then it was spend, then it was get. And Nancy, when I told you about this, your immediate response was, well, that's just the opposite of what the world system is teaching. The world system is saying, you know, go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and get. And then after you get, you can start spending. And that's why credit cards are so popular. And then after you start spending, if you have anything left, you can invest a little bit. Most people don't have anything left. And then most people depend on their investment being
What they save.
their 401k or something. Then last of all, you can save. And most people say, well, at the end of the month, I don't have anything to save. I run out of money before I run out of month. But it's because you've got it reversed. You've got to start on the other end. Save first, then invest, then spend, and then get. Now, you and I, we put that into practice. And I didn't realize, but several years before, I'd done that very thing. I made a list one whole month, every day, the date, the day, what I spent, exactly. Parking meters. I was living in Jeff City at the time, our capital city, Jefferson City, Missouri. Had parking meters. I wrote down every nickel, every dime I put in parking meters. Literally every penny I wrote down what I spent it for.
And you had phone booths too that required so much money.
That's right. Phone booths, but where you put a dime in back in those days, and that, you know, later became a quarter. Now they're gone basically. But everything I spent in detail. Then at the end of the month, I started totaling up. How much did I spend on parking meters? What did I spend on gasoline? What did I spend on telephone calls? What did I spend, and put it in categories. It was amazing where my money was going.
And you even, when you were going out for coffee 5 days a week, you added that in also.
Well, that was later.
I know, but it was still.
Later I did that, and so I found out where I could save. And I started to save, then I had that little bit. It doesn't take, you know, nothing is too. There was a famous radio broadcaster who died a few months ago, who smoked cigars and inhaled them. He died of lung cancer. He was worth millions of dollars, but millions of dollars didn't save him from stage 4 lung cancer or huge insurance premiums for medical care plus other expenses. And then probably at least 10 or 15 years of making millions per year that he did not live, that he didn't live to play out. So cigarettes, smoking, tobacco, the tobacco you put in your lip, skull, snuff, whatever you want to call it, do away with that. Cigars, do away with it. Now, you're going to say, well, I'm doing that. I'm working on it because I have one of these things that's you put the stuff in, and you puff on it. And
Vaping?
It's vaping, yeah. Do you spend money on vaping? How healthy is vaping? Come on, give me a break. Cut it out. Cut it out. Save some money. How much coffee are you drinking? How much coffee is enough? There are some people who walk around drinking coffee all day, depriving their bodies of water. You know that caffeine dehydrates you? Drinking coffee all day isn't healthy. Years ago, I did that. I didn't realize what I was doing. Nobody told me. And I was supposedly a well-educated man, or in seminary. So Nancy and I, we drive by some well-known coffee purveyors, big names, Started in Seattle. That'll give you a clue. And there's a line of cars, people going through to spend probably $6 or $7 on a cup of coffee.
And that might be 7 days a week.
Oh, they're doing it every day. And
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes more than once a day. They're doing it on their way to work and on their way home from work. If they can get it while they're at work, they'll get it in the middle of the day. You can find places to save. Now, you're going to be saying, well, Paul, all of that sounds very sacrificial because you're talking about my addictions, my habits, my pleasure. Well, let's just look at some common things. Let's take a look at when you go through the grocery store. Take the time to check the shelf. Read the labels. By the way, Nancy, I figured out the other day, inflation is very real. Just for the two of us, our grocery expense over the years, it's like creeping inflation.
Well, this month, we're not even going to make our high end of our monthly budget on food.
No.
That's good.
We look for bargains that still are nutritious, and we are very careful. My mom, who's been gone now 63 years or so, said about one of my sister-in-laws many years ago. She said she can scrape more out the back door with a tablespoon than my son can bring in the front door with a scoop shovel. What she meant was my brother could bring in food and supplies and income, and his wife, who didn't have a job, was wasteful in the use of food. In fact, my mom didn't think that you should have thick peelings from potatoes. If you were a good potato peeler, you didn't peel the potato away. Mm-hmm. You didn't have thick skin coming off.
Yeah, that's about like carrots also.
Yeah, so people, when I was a kid, they learned how to save. Guess what? Because they had to. Guess what? You can too. Just look for it. In fact, now I'm going to give you an idea. Make it enjoyable. If you're married, you and your spouse, make it an adventure to see how much you can save without depriving yourself. Try it for a month. Make it a game. When you're in the grocery store, make certain you check all the shelves for the best buy. Nancy will admit that when we were first married, she thought that certain name brands were all you could buy.
Yeah.
And I taught her, no, because I'd been in the grocery business as a kid growing up, and then later when I was on a sabbatical, I'd been in the grocery business. I knew the grocery business pretty well. I said, no, you don't have to worry. Name brand, here's this, here's this, here's this. Found out that it tastes just as good as the name brand. So read the labels. Make sure what's in the can or what's in the package, and then watch for the specials.
Oh, I opened a can of refried beans the other day. It's one of the big cans. That thing, this is so awesome. Whoa, I can't believe this. It was 10 years past the best buy date. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to open this and see if it's any good. Yeah, boy, now it sure was.
Well,
it was not bad.
You ate the whole thing and you're still alive.
Yeah.
So be careful with your shopping, though. Read the labels, watch the prices, watch the sales, the ads.
Yeah.
If you have a computer, most of these companies will have their ads on the computer, even though the newspaper's about gone and you don't see ads. But the information is out there. So shop carefully. Wouldn't it be something if you could save 10% on your grocery bill in 1 month? And take that 10% and invest it. Now, we're at that second point. You're going to say, I don't have enough to invest. Yes, you do.
Oh, there's how they think again comes into play.
Now, here's what I suggest about investing. By the way, when it comes to wills and trusts and that sort of thing, I recommend that you have if you're going to have a trust, if you're going to have a will, have a good estate lawyer. One that's his specialty, or her. It's their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And then shop around. There's nothing that says you have to hire the first lawyer that you call. Shop around, because
Mm-hmm.
they do have different prices. I remember when lawyers weren't allowed to advertise. I remember when medical people weren't allowed to advertise. Well, they all advertise now. So if they advertise, you have the right to shop. Shop for the best deal on legal services, on estate planning. Now, when it comes to groceries, shop. You have the right to shop for the best deals.
Yeah, and to butt in, there are grocery stores that are. I'll put it this way: the cans might be mashed, the boxes might be crushed a little bit. All that's still good, and so they are a third, probably, or less than what you would get in a store.
All right. Well, here's an idea for you. If a dented can or a crushed box is good enough for the food pantry for poor people, it's good enough for you,
That's right.
because the amount of money that you have or don't have does not determine your value as a person.
That's right.
So don't think you're too high and mighty to have a can that's dented or a box that's crushed. Just be a good steward. Be a good manager when you shop.
Mm-hmm.
Get the best deal out there, whether it's for groceries or for legal services. Now, when it comes to medical services, you're tied into your health care plan, obviously, your insurance plan. But nonetheless, you can visit with your health care provider about the cost of prescriptions. I had the nurse practitioner who works for my cardiologist talking about one of the medications I have to take. It's terribly expensive. It can run all the way from $700 and some a month down to $400 and something a month. If you get a real break, it's down to 70 something a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I was complaining about the price. She said, "Well, you're retired, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, maybe you can qualify to get that medication at a better price." So she brought in a paper, and I filled it out. She passed it on to the doctor. I got contacted by the big company, and they sent me paperwork. I took the time. I took my valuable time.
Yeah, this is so awesome.
For about 2 hours,
Oh,
filled out paperwork. I took my valuable time to put a stamp on that envelope, and we mailed it. I got a phone call. The medicine's free. Think how much I saved.
yes.
See, you can do that. And then, that was for the first 6 months. They've renewed it. It's free for another 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, in the couple of minutes we have left, I want to tell you, take the little bit that you saved. Next week we'll carry this on, because I've got more terrific, mind-blowing ideas for you. I mean, phenomenal, big time. But quickly about investing, even the little bit that you have, think about this. Hang on to it until you hear more from me, but you need to have expert advice on investing. Listen, your wife's third cousin by her fourth marriage or whatever, he's not the expert. There are people called financial planners, but they are different too. Quickly, you have to select the right one. He must be a fiduciary. I will tell you about that next week. It sounds very legal, which is true.
I can hardly say it, and I'm not sure I can spell it.
Fiduciary. Now, you also need to shop around for a financial planner. Don't just go with the one you see on TV or somebody, You have to find one who has the right specialty. We're out of time, but quickly. You got to have one that has the right strategy about investing, has the right credentials. You want a certified financial planner. You want a CFP. You want to know how they get paid. And whatever you do, don't just take it on yourself to hire the first one that comes along. Anyway, we're out of time. have an exciting show for you next week as we carry this on with details that'll make you money, but more than that, it'll make you very secure as you approach retirement. Till then, stay blessed.